Today we've got an interview about process confirmation with Jacqueline Kerstma, an experienced continuous improvement expert. And she'll be talking about how to really build a strong performance management, daily meetings, stuff like that, and the role of process confirmation in that, but also on the timing that you need your standards and your training in place first, and basically how to build up that important part of your continuous improvement cycle. So here's Jacqueline.
Well, in the years I spent on continuous improvement programs, implementing them in different locations, process confirmation was also a topic, and that is one of the main elements in those programs to really make sure that standards are followed. People see it sometimes as an audit, and that is actually not the case. An audit is more like a check, when are you doing it according to the way I ordered you to do so. It can be a kind of threatening, it's like you're going to check me if I'm doing my work well or not. Huh? And actually the whole goal of process confirmation is finding out if you as a manager have created the right facilities for the operator to do his or her work perfectly well. Saw a couple of ways in the organization where it was totally wrong implemented in a way that it was it was kind of embarrassing most of the time. It's like, oh my gosh, why did you do it like that? And that is when people walk around with a set of paper, when there's instruction like, okay, now you have the safety standards, now you have to check this and this. So check if the personal belongings are used. Okay. Do you wear your personal safety gear today? Yeah. So, and that is, I think, so disrespectful even, because if you first go to the shop floor and you're not sure what standards are there, and that's a tricky thing, because if you're going to check there for a process confirmation, you need to make sure that you know the standard, right? And most of the people, the managers, have no clue what the standard is about. You're really wasting your time and the operator's time, which is most importantly, by asking questions that are not really helpful. So make sure that you are prepared when you go want to check something or have a dialogue about something. Pick your topic, pick a critical issue of the week, for example. Let's say, okay, this week this is important, we focus on that topic, and then also prepare your dialogue with the person involved. So that you're sure you know what you're talking about, and that you can also ask the right questions to the operator to make sure that he or she is also bringing up his best knowledge to improve your standards again. Yeah, to really set it up effectively from the start, you have to make sure that standards are in place, that knowledge is available about the standards, that standards are trained. If you want to do a process confirmation as a manager, that you also maybe volunteer as a person who wants to be trained on those topics. So you also are aware of how these standards work in practice. And if you are, because then you also can have dialogue on the right level. Otherwise you're not, you're just wasting your time being on the shop floor. So if you're there, make sure that you know what it is about and that you are responsible for creating the whole environment for making those standards successful. But for that, you need to find out if the standard you have created, and in the best case, you have created it with the operators together, but sometimes that's not the case. So then you have to find out the way of working of that process and that standard during the operation time. So then it's good to check with the operator if this standard is working as you intended it to be. And that is best to do in the form of a dialogue. So just ask the operator, okay, I saw that you had a setup in the last half an hour. What went well and what can be better? And did you have the right tools available to do so? Was everything in place? Was the environment created for you that you could do it in a quick and effective way? Do you have suggestions to improve? And that type of dialogue is really helping an operator also to see, okay, he's really, or she is really interested in the work I'm doing and wants to make it better for me. What is a kind of prerequisite for doing a process confirmation is that you have the training methods also in place, so that you are sure that people know how to really follow the standard and that they have been trained to do so. In case that part has not been done yet, it's not so effective to do a process confirmation. So first make sure that those standards are trained, that people know what to do, that you have created the environment to also make sure that those standards can be followed. And if that's the case, then start having those dialogues and those conversations, because then you also have created an environment when there's trust, and people feel confident to also express what they're bumping into, that they can share also their experiences and also even do suggestions for improvement. So first you have to make sure that that space is created for people to also feel confident to do so. And that is the main, I think the main reason to make it successful. If you do a process confirmation and you have an effective dialogue and you have an outcome that you want to use to improve your standards, then make sure that you also agree upon an action on the spot. So in the moment, also agree upon what you're going to do with this information, when you are going to get back to that, when you're going to get feedback about that action that you're going to take and how it will be visible in the organization. So what you can do is make sure that it comes back in your daily meetings, that you make sure that, you feedback in that daily meeting that you did a process confirmation on that and that standard because it was a critical one yesterday. You had an effective dialogue. This is the outcome. This is what you're going to do. Put the action on board and make sure that the next day this is all being followed through, if it's possible, of course, or at least put a deadline in which you manage the outcome. And then feedback again to the person you have spoken to that it's fixed, let's say, or changed or organized. So at least that person knows what to do. Yeah, what is important with process confirmation is that you make sure that you have a good timing about the moment you start to implement it. Process confirmation is effective if you have standards in place, if standards are trained, so people know what to do. If you have created an environment to make sure that those standards can be followed also in practice. And if you have a connection with your daily meetings. So in your daily meetings, if you have outcome that requires a process confirmation in which you're not sure if standards are there, are met, or if they are trained. If that is the case, then just suggest to do a process confirmation and make sure that you are aware of what this standard is about. If there is a training document in which the what, the how, and the why is explained, this can make it easy for you to move to the shop floor and check if this is still valid and if it's still the case. And if that process is done and you have had the dialogue with the person involved on the shop floor, also make sure that you have the proper feedback again for your daily meeting. And in your daily meeting, you can do a suggestion of what you have come up with, what you have agreed upon with your operator, and then implement it in the organization. And of course, make sure that all the other colleagues of that operator also know what has changed and why it has changed and what is the way to move forward. So in order to do that, you have to have a daily meeting already in place. So I would start with that first before you implement process confirmation, and make sure that your standards are most of the time already available and trained in your organization. And if those two elements are in place, then it's time to also implement process confirmation. But do it in a practical and approachable way, and don't be the auditor on the shop floor, because that's a whole different exercise. But have the proper environment, a safe environment, create a safe environment for the people to also give feedback and also ask for that feedback, because you are not the captain of the shop floor, right? Those people who are every day on the lines know what they're talking about. So there's a lot of knowledge that you can use to improve your standards.
And again, thank you, Jacqueline, for those nice insights. Now, if you also like this interview, don't forget to tell us by hitting that like button. Drop me a comment. What other interviews would you like to see on this channel? Or a question to Jacqueline, why not? Also, if you want to contact with her, she is available on LinkedIn, or for the Dutch audience, when you want to work with her, go to stick.nl, that is stick with a double C. For now, I wish you the best of luck setting up an effective performance management system. And as always, enjoy the continuous improvement journey.